Welcome everybody to All the Leads Mastermind, or excuse me, All the Leads Role Play call number 26. And Happy New Year, our first role play call of 2018, our January call. So hopefully everybody is somewhere warm and out of the storm if that's possible. Just a reminder, this is a role play call. So unlike the Thursday call, we try to keep everything in the form of a role play to help everybody build their sales language and confidence. That's really the goal of this call. So if you have marketing questions, logistics questions, as far as things about the CRM or direct mail or anything like that, please try to save those for our Thursday calls. Today is really about getting, mainly focusing on the initial conversation with the personal representative or with the attorney, and kind of role playing through those objections and things that work and things that don't. So again, press *6 and then 1 to enter the queue. And if you don't,
we have one person in the queue.
All right, perfect.
Phone number in 66505.
Yeah, hi, this is Bill Leeper in Denver, Colorado.
Hey, Bill.
I'm relatively new and got my first set of leads here just a few weeks ago. And as I was going through the records, the real estate records, noticed that a number of them have already been on the market and have sold. So I guess my question is what does the conversation look like for those guys?
So your market is notorious for that, worse than any that I've encountered so far in 4 years of doing this. So you're gonna, but I will say this: at one point, I almost called it and said it like your market's too competitive. But then we cracked the code, and so hang in there. Like you're gonna hear that a lot because investors are actually pulling the newspapers, taking the obituaries, skip tracing, and reaching out to those people really early. We actually quantified the problem in, I don't know if it was Denver County, but it was in the Denver area. Like we did a couple of surrounding counties, and we kind of confirmed that. So just a word of encouragement. There's still a lot of business on your list. Don't get frustrated when you hear, well, we sold it or it's already on the market, because we did find that, but we also found about 3 to 4% conversion in the list over a 3-month period for the other guy that I was working with. So just some words of encouragement as you venture into this. If they don't have real estate or they've already sold the real estate, there's still ways that you can earn business from the list as a real estate professional. I would say that your median's probably mid-4s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's, the chances are they've got a windfall of cash, and I think the common denominator among all of us humans is when we have cash, we like to spend it, right, or invest it. So you can there's ways you can monetize it and ways you can't. If you can get them over to a financial advisor, that doesn't really help you monetize that. However, you can really build trust, and business can come back at you through that trust. A more direct way is you can help, you can directly ask them, what do you intend to do with it? That's great. Too bad we didn't meet. What do you intend to do with it? And let's role play that. I'll kind of take it down that path.
Okay.
So we'll just be I'll go ahead and jump into the conversation. So, all right. Well, Bill, listen, it sounds like you guys, you've pretty well along the way. Tell me what's the plan for the real estate in the estate? Have you guys discussed that?
So it's already sold.
Okay. Well, good. I'm sorry we didn't meet sooner. Did you guys sell it before the probate filing, or is that something you did?
Yeah, we got a letter from an investor and went ahead and put it on the market.
Okay. Well, great. And it sounds like you must have gotten what you thought it was worth, or hopefully even more, right?
Yeah, we got a fair deal. I don't think we made a ton of money, but we made a fair deal.
Okay. Well, it's time or money. We all have to make a choice, don't we? So, does the family have? Do you have plans to reinvest that to keep that wealth alive, or have you thought about it?
Well, there were a number of beneficiaries, so the net amount was not a lot for each of us.
Okay. Have you guys? The reason I ask so many questions, I've helped a lot of families, and what we find is typically after distribution, a lot of family members kind of take a look at their own home and say, well, maybe it's time to move up. So we've actually helped a lot of folks who put their home on the market, and then we went out shopping and we used their distribution as a down payment for a move up.
Uh-huh.
So they can get the equity out of their home tax free if they've been there for more than 2 years, and we can combine that with with their part of the estate, and we can actually improve their their quality of life drastically in a lot of cases. Other people come to us and say, hey, listen, it's kind of found money. We weren't really expecting it. And we help them build investment portfolios. So maybe we buy a condo downtown that they Airbnb. Maybe we get a long-term rental or a duplex, or even connect them with some of our investors. And we actually have a program where we'll connect you with investors. We can show you how to turn that money into private money for our investors, where they'll actually borrow from you with usually a point or two up front and between 8 and 12% interest. So would you guys be interested in sitting down and kind of talking about your options of reinvesting that and growing that?
Yeah, that's a great script. I think that sounds like something that would be of interest. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, I like to do it face to face. I mean, there's a lot we can talk about. If we can just take, I don't know, we can start with a half an hour. You want to grab a coffee on the Starbucks on the corner on let's say Friday at 1?
Okay. All right, good.
Okay. Cool. So I'll break script. What I would do there is I would go prepared to talk to you about private money lending. And I really can. I mean, I can get rid of your money tomorrow at 12%, and you'll probably not get that in the market. And I can show you ways that you'll have an investment in town that you can put your own eyes and hands on. And I'll show you ways that I can secure your investment. So I won't take you above like 50% of ARV or after repair value. So you'll have like a 50 LTV loan in town at 12%. And we might even get you points on the front. And I've got the buyers on my cash buyers list that will take that money all day long over hard money because it's cheaper and there's less strings attached to it. And the attorney that I have on my team that helps me with the tough probate deals or the creative financing deals, he's the one that's going to write the note and first deed of trust. So I can show you that as a whole solution and get you out to my investors. And what I'm doing there is I'm creating value for you and for the family, for all the family members, even if you guys all want to put money in together with me. But I'm also creating value for my investors, and I'm creating future listings for myself. Because by capitalizing my investors, I'm creating future inventory for my business, right? So if they're buying houses, they're going to be selling houses. So if I can take, your family and that distribution and raise $100,000 in private money, I can make you guys 12%. I can capitalize one of my investors to pull the trigger on a flip, and then I've got myself a $300,000 or $400,000 listing 60 to 90 days from now.
Where should I go looking to connect myself with the people that would take advantage of the money and the structure a little bit?
So I'll give you a short form answer, but for the longer answer, when you go to alltheleads.com, look in the top and look under blog and scroll down through there. You'll see I did a series called Tips from the Trainer, and there's it's probably like a 12-minute video on how to find cash buyers. But be sure and watch that. That's a good thing for everybody on the phone to kind of refer to. I give you 3 ideas for short-term, long-term. But the quickest way is, I'll say the absolute quickest way to find a serious cash buyer that already has cash is go to a trustee sale. So whether that's weekly, monthly, however it's scheduled in your market, go to the courthouse the next time there's a trustee sale, and you'll meet some serious investors that are ready to pull the trigger. Now, chances are they're already capitalized, but I've never met an aggressive investor who won't take easy money, right? So if they can get cheap money, unless they have, they're well connected and well capitalized. Another place, more long term, would be your Real Estate Investors Association. So look up Real Estate Investors Association Denver. I'm guessing in a city your size, you're probably going to have 2 or 3 separate associations, and they'll probably have biweekly or monthly meetings. So you want to go to those meetings. A lot of REIs will give you a chance to stand up at the beginning of the meeting and say kind of why you're there, and a lot of them have networking before and after the actual sessions. Your point there is to get as many people as you can to show interest in private money. So, listen, I'm a real estate professional. I work with a lot of investors, but I also help a lot of families who are in probate, and they don't really know what to do with that money afterwards. So my attorney and I can structure a deal where we can, we turn my clients into private lenders. Would you like to be on our list? I'll put you on our email list so you know when there's capital available. And start to build a list of those people who have an appetite for that. And for me, like I started doing this on my own. I pulled all my money out of the stock market because I was timid. I'll go ahead and say it. But I loaned mine at 15% to investors with no points, and I never have trouble getting rid of money. Like I have a 5-year note right now at 15%, and they're happy to do it because everyone's situation is different. That sounds absurd to some of you, but to other people, it's like, yeah, okay, well, that's money I wouldn't have otherwise, and that property cash flows like crazy anyways. I'm going to go ahead and pull the equity out by borrowing this money. Excuse me. So try to learn as much as you can about them as you're getting to know those people that have an appetite for private money. Try to figure out what their strategy is. Are they long-term buy and hold? Are they fix and flip? How many deals have they done? How much? Because one thing, the reason I say 50 LTV, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to this, and I am with my clients as well. I don't want to put you in a risky situation. I want to put you in a good investment, right? So if I put you in a 50 LTV loan, the investor's not that experienced or something changes in his life or his business and he can't finish the deal, then if we have to pay for the foreclosure and go through the asset recovery process, then we still have equity left. Like we can always sell an asset at 50 cents on the dollar. So chances are if the investor screws up, my client will make even more money. Like they'll typically double their money. So get to know your investors so you can kind of have a profile on each one. And you probably won't need more than a half a dozen. You'll meet dozens upon dozens. A lot of them will be tire kickers or people that I wouldn't necessarily, if they don't have a lot of experience, I probably wouldn't partner them with my clients. If they've done at least 3 or 4 successful flips and they can show me that portfolio, then I'll set up a meeting and kind of step out of the way. And in those conversations, there would be a gentleman's agreement with the investor that, hey, I'm going to be the listing agent on your projects that I fund. And with your client, it's just, I'm your investment realtor for life, or your realtor period for life, because I'm showing, I'm going above and beyond my call of duty to show you how to do these creative things to really help you grow your wealth. And there's no real papered agreement between either side, but it usually works out, and everybody trusts you and is just grateful that you put them together. So I would get it to a point where you know your client and their needs, you know the investors and their needs and their strategy, put them together, and just, for the most part, step out and let your attorney deal with structuring the deals, unless they're willing to pay you for services.
Meaning like trash out, or what services would that be?
Well, like limited agency. So like if your investor comes to you and is asking all these questions and stuff, maybe you represent them in a transaction as a limited service agent, where you basically just help them write the purchase agreement in such a way that, just so the financing terms are outlined the way that you guys plan to put the deal together. Like if they're asking a lot from you, then you might do a limited service agreement during the transaction.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. That was a good question. I mean, there's so many ways you can monetize these, and it is really the more outside of the box you can think, the more ways you'll find to do that. Tom, do we have anybody else in the queue?
Yes, we do. We have one ending in 8319, and I'm going to open that up here.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, good. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. So I'm new to. My name is Dean Clark. I'm from the Hoboken, Jersey City area, Hudson County over here in Jersey. So this is something very new that I'm doing. I've never done probate before. I've done estate sales, which technically is a probate, but I've never actually gone after probate. So I just want to understand the gist of the initial conversation when I'm reaching out to these people when I call them, because I intend to be more proactive. I don't want to just sit back, and I really have a problem being reactive to just letters. So if I can reach out in a very calm, sensitive way, how would the conversation go and the dialogue really?
Yeah, for sure. Have you gone through our fast track training? You are a subscriber,
Yeah,
right?
I've done all that. Yeah. I've done all that. I got the first batch of leads from last month. I just want to hear it right now as I'm in, we're live and we can get this situated. So.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll jump into role play just a second. So what I mentioned in video 3 on fast track is what we call the Probate USP, or your unique selling proposition. And what I found early on is I was getting shut down because I was marble mouthed, and objections were coming before I had answers for them. So what I learned is the common objections that I heard is, wait, who are you? How'd you get my number? What are you calling me for? Like, I always heard that. So people want to know who you are, how you got their information, why you're calling, what you can do for them, and then if you let them ask those questions first, they're controlling the conversation. So the idea in the Probate USP is to address those points up front and proactively, which is going to match your personality well. So the best way to defeat the objection is to never let it arise. So you want to, in the first part of the conversation, you want to push through that, even if they're abrasive. You want to push through it and let them know those points. Here's who I am. Here's how I got your information. This is why I'm calling and what I can do for you. The other really important point, and this was like the golden key for me, end with an emotional question. So I used to go straight for the real estate. Like, by the way, I didn't ask, is there any real estate in the estate? As this marketplace is becoming more competitive and they're getting a lot more pressure from investors, I learned that in coaching people in really competitive markets, that kind of automatically gives you the reputation of the last guy they talked to, and you don't necessarily want that. So I learned to stay away from the real estate in the very beginning of the conversation, start to build rapport, and then find a way to segue into the real estate conversation. So we're going to help them understand, like, the idea is to paint the picture of a vertically integrated business that does a whole lot of stuff. And real estate is just one of those things. It's one of the spokes in the wheel, and you're the hub. Now, you happen to also be the real estate spoke, but what we're going to focus the conversation on is you being the hub, kind of the clearinghouse for all the problems they have. You have solutions. And that's what I've kind of found to be the key. So, and you're talking about doing outbound phone calls, right? Not waiting. Yeah. Now, we do recommend that you still send the letter,
Sure.
So it warms your phone call a bit. It gives me a reason to be calling you. So I'm gonna play that scenario because what we recommend is the combination. So,
okay.
I'm sorry. What was your name?
Dean.
Dean?
Yes.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, I'm trying to reach Dean.
This is Dean.
Hey, Dean, my name's Chad Corbett. You might recognize my name. I sent you a letter last week, and I just had a few minutes in my office. I wanted to follow up and make sure you got that and you understood why we sent it. You remember seeing that?
Yes. Yes, I did. But who are you again?
Chad Corbett. I own the company.
Okay.
We mailed you a letter. What we do is I have a team of people here locally that we help people who are going through, families who are going through the probate process. And as part of that, we go to the courthouse and pull records monthly. And I noticed that you were the executor of an estate. So I just wanted to touch base, kind of let you know that our business is here and can help with, we've helped many families with all aspects of the probate. I know it can be overwhelming, and a lot of folks really just don't know where to start. So we try to reach out early, just let you know that we're here and kind of give you an idea of some of the things that we can do to help you, so you're not going at this alone. What's have you guys gotten everything handled, or what's your biggest challenge with the estate right now?
Well, I mean, right now we're not really sure what we're going to do. We're probably going to, we did get another call from another investor who said that they're a cash buyer, and we might, because we do have real estate to sell on this, and so this is something that we're going to have to try to do. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, we don't really know when we're going to do this. It could be a year from now, honestly. So I don't want to waste your time or anything.
Yeah, no, you're not wasting my time. I called you, remember? I mean, you're in the same position as most of our clients that when we first talk to them. Real estate is one of the things we do, mainly because that's where 80% of families hold their wealth. So that's usually one of the first things we have to address, like what's the plan for it, how can we help you with that? And that can range anywhere from selling it to a cash buyer like the guy you spoke to. We have dozens of those that we work with, to helping get the home renovated so we can sell it for top retail price, or even helping the family transition it into a rental property in the case, like you mentioned, if you end up holding it for a year, we'll help you get proper insurance on it, because if you may not know right now, but more likely than not, the house actually isn't insured and you guys are really at risk. That's usually a surprise for most of our clients to learn. So we kind of look at the big picture and say, all right, what all can we do to help you here? And even if that's turning it into a rental property and at least getting you an income for the next 12 months until you decide what you want to do. I didn't ask, are you the only executor? Are there co-executors? And who do you feel like should be part of the conversation?
I mean, I am the majority executor. I mean, I am the executor of the estate. So I am making the decisions. Yeah, but I still have siblings on this, and I have people that I have to answer to, as you can imagine. So it's just going to be a long process, I think, and we're just kind of go from there.
Yep, one step at a time. That's kind of how we take it too. So usually the first step is us getting together, and if it's okay with you and everybody's getting along, I would prefer if all of your siblings and anyone else who is an heir to the estate is part of that initial conversation. Because what we find is a lot of times people don't trust what sounds too good to be true. And a lot of times people don't expect a service like we offer, because we handle so much and we can take so much of this off your plate. I've seen a lot of family members don't believe it if you take it back to them, where if you both sit there and have this conversation with me, then everybody will realize, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, right? So I find it really helpful it really smooths out the situation for you when everybody can hear the same thing. We're all on the same page, right? So that's usually where we start, and we're going to take a look at, we'll look at the real estate for sure, but we're going to look at everything else too. So how many ways can we help you? Do you guys have an attorney assigned with your probate yet?
Yeah, we do. We have an attorney that we are working with. Okay.
And have you met with him or her yet?
Yeah, we did initially. We did the initial consultation about what we plan to do with them, okay. And then so like I said, it's something that we're going to have to do in the future. But yeah, we're just having to decide what we need to do going forward.
Yeah. Well, we know most of the probate attorneys in town. We try to make sure that everybody understands we're here and what we do. Just like with the families, we try to let the attorneys know that we're here too. So chances are we know your attorney. What I find with most of our clients early is they expect the attorney to do a lot more than they actually are going to do. And so we kind of try to address expectations and roles and throughout the whole process. And a lot of that falls more on our plate than it does the attorney's plate, because we're connected with contractors, clean-out crews, property management companies, senior moving companies. I mean, you name it. Anything that could be challenging you guys right now, we have those solutions, where the attorney is just going to deal with mainly the legal aspects. They're going to guide you through what to do and in what order, but they're going to kind of hand everything else back to you. What we'll do is when they tell you what to do and in what order, and then they hand it to you, you can hand a lot of that off to us. For example, if the property is full of personal property, we can have our estate sale company come in, value everything. We all agree on that. Make sure it's a fair valuation, and then we can arrange either a tag sale or an auction sale, and get the most amount out of that personal property to free up money to improve the real property, or help pay for other things in the estate. Once that's done, we can donate what didn't sell, and we can even trash out anything that remains. So that's just one example of one of the things. We'll go that far where an attorney would never, they're capped on what they can make on this transaction. So they're not going to be able to do all of that for you. So that's kind of where we come in. We fill that void between what the attorney does and what you're tasked with doing. We try to help level that off.
Okay, that makes sense to me. I really appreciate the call, and I'll definitely be in touch when the time comes closer when we make the decision.
Well, if it's okay with you, I would like to at least introduce myself and sit down with you guys and just answer any questions you might have and kind of help you understand what it is we do. Would Friday at 1 o'clock be okay to meet up?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Okay. And is everybody in town, all your siblings, or are people spread out?
Yeah, I just have one other brother and one sister, so I can get both of them to come Friday at 1 o'clock. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, perfect. So I'll if anything changes, just let me know. We can look for a different time, maybe next week. But otherwise, I'll plan on meeting you at how about the Panera Bread on the corner of Walnut and First?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, I look forward to meeting you guys. I'm going to do some homework before I come. Have you got just a couple minutes to answer a few questions about the property so I can do some research and we can have an informed conversation?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. And I'll break script there. So I let you bring real estate. I let you bring real estate into the conversation. I stayed away from it until you brought it in. And then I painted some pictures of problems you didn't know that you had, like the house is probably sitting there uninsured and you didn't even know you were at risk. And there I'm planting a seed of, holy crap, I hadn't even thought of that. Maybe I should meet with this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I did is I made sure to include all of the decision makers, and I absolutely, no exceptions, I will not go on that initial appointment unless everybody can be there or be there virtually on a conference line or a go-to meeting or some way because of what I said. It's one of the quickest ways to kill a deal is to build trust and get somebody to go from 0 to 60, and then they try to go back and bring other people up to speed without you. You'll lose almost every one of those. So I'm adamant that I get everybody to the appointment. The other thing I did in there that you should pay attention to, I basically tried to put you at ease by telling you you're in the same place everybody else is. All those people that we've helped were feeling the same thing you're feeling right now. They didn't know where to start. They felt overwhelmed. They didn't know which decisions to make first. So I'm hopefully going to comfort you by showing you we've worked with people in your situation before. We're used to this. This is normal for us. And I know you're overwhelmed. That's why I'm here. And that was what I was trying to convey to you. So that's just a few things I want to point out that I did in the conversation deliberately.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, honestly. I think that's the right dialogue. So basically, it's because what I heard, going into this before I got the system was that you got to be really sensitive. You got to make sure, and totally, it makes total sense because, they had a death in the family, obviously, whether it was 5 years ago or last year or 6 months ago. So, I mean, I understand that, but it was just very informative, basically what you're doing. You're just providing a lot of value on that,
If I had to say, if I had to pick one single most important thing, I would say it's empathy. So, and that's a very different thing than sympathy. I never offer condolences or tell them I'm sorry. I didn't know the deceased. So I think that's not my place. But I do want to be empathetic, and I want them to know that I understand their problems, and I've helped other people, and I have the solutions for that. So I didn't really use it in the role play that we just did, but something that's really important, write down these words: feel, felt, found. And you'll find a dozen different ways to use this. But I didn't quite do feel, felt, found, but I understand how you feel, and I'm validating that. Most of our clients felt the same way. You're not alone. What they found is that once they understood that what we could do, that they were able to actually move forward way quicker than they had originally thought, because we took most of the challenge away from the estate settlement process. So feel, felt, found can go a long ways, especially if somebody is kind of armed or abrasive or they're not trusting you. Feel,
Right.
felt, found can disarm the majority of objections. So validate how they feel. Don't ever challenge them. Tell them, listen, you're not the only one. Trust me. Everybody starts out this way. But what they find is when they listen and understand what we can do, they're actually really grateful that our service exists.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Feel, felt, found. I like that a lot. Nice.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Chad. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for stepping up, man.
Chad, I think you mentioned about the other role play calls. What are about 25 of them now?
This was 27, I think. So,
No.
yeah, guys. So
Yeah.
if you're new to this call, if you go to subscriber portal, and now the menu's in the top. If you look under conference calls, access call archive, each of there's about right now 27 hours of archived role play. So you can go through, and it's in kind of a calendar format. When it opens, you can look at the top. There's an arrow to the right and an arrow to the left. If you click to the left, that takes you back in time, 1 month at a time. So if you're just getting started, I encourage you to print off the probate seller interview sheet that you should have downloaded in step 3 of Fast Track, and have it in front of you as you listen to some of those calls. The other thing that's in a lot of the past calls is role playing with attorneys or discussing, how to approach the attorneys. So that's the other arm of this. There's kind of it's a two-prong approach. You market to the personal representatives as the marketing arm, but you also introduce yourself. And this is something else that I did in that role play. I tried to reinforce my credibility by letting him know that we know most of the attorneys in town, so we probably know yours. But that's the referral arm of this. So you've got a marketing aspect and a referral aspect. And one of the things that we focus on a lot on in Probate Mastery, in session 2, we focus on how to build that referral network. So from attorneys to nursing home professionals to senior moving companies, estate sale companies, like how do you create symbiotic relationships where you give referrals and get referrals, financial advisors, estate planning attorneys. So listen to some of those past role plays. We cover both of those things. We cover the initial conversation with the PR, but as well as some of the role play with attorneys.
We don't have anybody else in the queue. We need some participants.
Come on, guys. We were on a roll. Those were both really good. Anybody else has anything? Who's got something that's working? Like who's been on the phones this week and they're just stoked, but they haven't pressed *6 and then 1. Somebody's got some language that they're really proud of that worked for them. We hear success stories every day from the support side of things. Someone's got to be on this call that's gotten a listing this week. Okay, who got shut down?
Takers. Yeah.
Who picked up the phones and was ready to just run for the hills because you got shut down with an objection you couldn't answer? Or who's got an objection they just can't get out of their head, whether they've heard it from a prospect or not? Like something the reason you haven't gotten on the phones, or something that you're telling yourself, when I get an answer to that, I'll get on the phones. If you've got apprehension, step up. I guarantee you're not the only one.
That's *6, right?
*6, wait a moment, and then 1.
Come on now. There's several people on this line. We can always get one more. Come on. I think we have somebody. Hold on. Number ending in 5748.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well. Can you hear us? I guess not. Tom, you can hear me, right?
Yeah. Are you on there now, George?
Pardon?
Is this George on the line?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, George, we can hear you. We can hear you fine.
Okay, great. So I sent out my first wave of mailers a couple of weeks ago, and I had one call come in, and I just ran that call yesterday and made my first offer. So waiting to hear back from that. But I also started making phone calls as well last week. And the very first phone call I made, I was called an ambulance chaser, and she hung up on me. And so I just trying to get better on the phones, getting comfortable with my unique selling proposition. I felt like I was fumbling around and just wasn't very like Chad. So I guess, that was kind of my success story and failure story at the same time. So now I'm getting ready to, get back on the phones and kind of go back through and figure out what I'm gonna say. So this was a really good call. I'm gonna actually re-listen to it and kind of take some more notes so that I can be very comfortable on the phone. So just want to throw that out there.
It's all about repetition, man. Like I really wish I would have recorded some of my early calls so we could all laugh at them together. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I came from multi-million-dollar beachfront sales in Hawaii to brick ranches in Roanoke, Virginia. Like I had no clue what I was doing, and I didn't even know what probate was until I did a couple. So it just takes repetition. I probably completely fell on my face a dozen times and screwed up the appointments. Even when I got the appointment and showed up, I probably failed at least a dozen times before I got it right and figured out the stuff that I'm teaching you guys now. So go easy on yourself. It's just what we have to do to build the skill set, right? If you want, if you're willing to role play your Probate USP, I'll give you some advice or critique if it's needed. If you want to jump in.
Well, that's kind of what I'm developing. What I've been calling actually and saying is, just have you received my letter that I sent? And usually they say yes or no, or no. They say yes or no. When they say yes, do you have any questions? And usually I've made about 10 calls, and I've been receiving objections such as, I've received, I'm going to list it with somebody else, or, no, I don't need any help. I'm going to handle it on my own. Kind of the normal ones. And I've just been fumbling through it. So.
Okay. So, like I said earlier, feel, felt, found will go a long way with a lot of different objections. For example, we've got it all handled. It's a bit of a variation, but hey, I understand most of the people we talk to say just that because they're overwhelmed and we're kind of pulling them out of their comfort zone, right? I find that most of the people we talk with felt overwhelmed and just said that to get me off the phone, and then later called back and I found out that they actually really needed a lot of help, and I could have taken a lot of that off their plate way earlier. Things like that, you can help paint the picture. If they say, you can also take the direction of, well, we got it handled. Okay, well, interesting. So that means the attorney has gotten you guys set up with a vacant house policy, so the real estate's covered. And that's kind of a stop them in their tracks. Like that's a very disruptive statement. But if they're trying to rush or they're trying to run away, bring things like that to the surface, because most people don't know a standard homeowner's policy, with very few exceptions, will not cover a vacant structure outside of 30 days. So if that house has been vacant for more than 30 days, they've got an uninsured asset even though they're paying the homeowner's insurance. There's only a couple of companies, a couple of underwriters in the country that write those policies. So you can use that to kind of stop them in their tracks and help them realize, okay, so maybe this guy really is trying to help me. And I guarantee you the other investors aren't doing that for them. So just try things like that. Like, don't be afraid to try stuff. Like the script that we just ran through works great most of the time, but it's never going to work all the time. So just try things on and see what fits your personality and your business and your market and what's going to work. But that's some of the examples. And other things like, okay, well that's great. What's your plan? And they're really direct questions. But if you know you're going to get hung up on anyways, what the hell do you have to lose? Just step up and say something disruptive like that. Oh, okay, well I guess the home's not insured and you're completely risking the asset, right? Or well, that's awesome. Tell me what's your plan for everything. They're going to hang up on you anyways. Maybe they'll engage and tell you their plan. What's more likely is that they're going to, in their mind, they're thinking, shit, he called my bluff. And then they'll start to vent. And they're like, well, we don't. And then you can reassure them. And humor goes a long ways too when people are doing that to you. You can say, like, one of the things, like, well, we've gotten 50 letters. And just jump in there and say, oh my gosh, tell me about it. You know what? Last client we helped, they almost needed 3 mailboxes just to fit the investor postcards in. Is that what it's like at your house? Well, lucky you got me on the phone, so you don't have to read through all the postcards to find mine. I'll tell you why I called. We actually have a team here locally and then jump right into it. So open it with a joke, and throw yourself under the bus and say, yeah, I'm one of those guys, but luckily you got me on the phone. You don't have to look for my postcard. And then jump right into your Probate USP. And one of the things I learned too, even if they try to shut you down while you're going through that Probate USP, push through. Maintain control of the conversation and push through, because you never know when they might stop talking and start listening. So push your way through it, because you're going to get hung up on otherwise. So take the opportunity of having them on the phone and push through get those points out there so they have a reason to engage with you.
Okay. Thank you.
And don't ever apologize for what you're doing either.
Okay. Good stuff.
We need another.
All right, guys. We have anyone else in the queue, Tom?
No one right now. Need one more volunteer. I think we got one. Hold on. Number ending in 2535. Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
So my name is Kevin, and I call for my agent. And so I guess the question that I have is, because we've developed a script that we've been kind of working on, but I'm trying to find a way to basically improve it, because we're calling in Arizona, which is probably one of your guys' biggest probate areas, and it seems like everyone has been called many times. So our company is Arizona Probate Group, and whenever I call people, I always say, this is Kevin Moz from Arizona Probate. And obviously we're not Arizona Probate, but if I say Arizona Probate Group, they automatically think it's a third party or something like that. So is there a different way that I could bypass that?
So you're saying Arizona Probate in place of Arizona Probate Group?
Yeah. Well, we could go, if you want, we can kind of go through my script.
Yeah, well, I want to understand what your choke point is. So is one working and the other isn't, or is neither working?
Well, so they do work, but then it goes to the question, so you're from Arizona Probate? And then I usually say, oh, yeah, well, I'm an Arizona Probate Group, and this and this, and this is how we can do to help you.
Okay, let's jump in. Call me.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hey, Chad. This is Kevin Moz with Arizona Probate Group.
Let me back up 1 second. Are you always starting that way with my name?
Well, usually I'll start off with the last name, or I'll be like, "Hey, Chad," or whatever your last name is, and then I'll start off with that. Just
the reason I ask, this can make a big difference. So when you're assuming that you have the right person automatically, and you're asking directly for them. I learned that. So the nature of how we gather phone numbers, we're really good at it. We have about at least 82% accuracy in our numbers. However, if we can't get a number for, let's say, John Papalopoulos in Phoenix. We're going to look up Joan Papalopoulos. Maybe that's his wife. So you may be calling Joan, and you don't want to call up and kind of be blindsided by a female voice when you're expecting to say John. You're better off to err on the side of caution and just always say, "Hi, I'm trying to reach John." And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have John on the phone. But you're not going to have Jim on the phone and call him John and him pissed off because you think you know who he is, right? There's a lot of psychology behind that, I guess, but I found it to be much smoother when I just always assume that I'm talking to somebody else instead of I always assume that I'm talking to the subject person. So that might be some of the start of the resistance in your call. It might be. I'm saying things that I've
Okay, so ask for them instead of assuming that that's who it is.
Right. And even if they're on the phone, it doesn't create. It still allows for a smooth conversation. But especially when it's not them, it doesn't get into that awkward. Wait a minute. Who are you? Why are you calling me? I'm not John. Like you avoid all of that, and you just say, "Oh, listen, my assistant." And if it's not John, and they hit you with that, then you can say, "Okay, well, listen. The reason I asked, my assistant found this number on the internet, and I was just giving it a shot. Do you know how I can reach John?" And just kind of sidestep it like that. That way, they usually don't get as abrasive. They don't feel like their privacy was invaded. And you can find anything on the internet. So just my assistant or my staff was able to find this number, and usually.
I'm glad that you went over that because that's actually a problem that I do have. A lot of people are always asking me, how do you get my number? And then I'll go say, oh yeah, we have someone that goes to the courthouse, and we'll go retrieve those numbers. But then they're also saying, am I on the list, or is it this, or how do I respond to someone like that?
Yeah, just say, listen, my staff actually, every month we go to the courthouse and pull the public records because we know that if we reach out early, we can help a lot of families avoid a whole lot of stress and work. So we actually pull that list, and then my staff finds phone numbers for everybody. It's not a perfect science, but I'm glad I got you at least. Have you got 5 minutes to talk? And you can usually just breeze right over that. And when I first started, the reason I backed up and said this is when I first started, I found myself, I'll bet you 5 times out of 10, I found my conversation going in that direction of, wait a minute, how the hell did you get my number? Or who are you? And I learned to get over that. And usually by being really casual and humorous, you can, and just glance over it I don't know, my assistant found it somewhere. And then ask them a question real quick. And they'll 9 times out of 10, they'll let go of it right there. They won't keep persisting on that. They'll answer the question that you ask.
No, that's awesome. No, I'm definitely going to be implementing that into my script. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, let's start again. Sorry.
All right. So I should start off with trying to get a hold of you. So.
Yep.
All right, so hello, is Chad there?
Yeah, this is Chad.
Hey, Chad, this is Kevin Maz with Arizona Probate. I'm calling you today because I saw that you were listed as the executor for Jane Doe.
You're with the probate office?
Yeah, well, I'm a senior probate specialist, and I'm with the Arizona Probate Group, and our team is in the process of looking to purchase a home in the neighborhood, and we were just wondering if your family is in the process of wanting to sell their home.
Okay, there's where you're getting hit, man. You're going right for my jugular. So yeah. You're assuming that I have real estate. You're assuming that I need to sell it, and I'm assuming that you're a damn crook because I've already talked to 25 guys just like you, and I know exactly what you have to offer. 50 cents on the dollar, kiss my ass, have a good day. So warm me up, build rapport with me, help me understand that your service doesn't focus just on making money off of the equity that you're trying to get from me. Help me understand that you're putting service first, you're putting my interest first, and if I need to sell a house real quick and I'm willing to part with the equity, then you're the solution that I need. But if I don't want that, you still have solutions that will help me. So
So instead of
as
asking, so instead of asking about the home first, I should probably ask them if there's anything that they needed help with in the probate process.
Yep. And you definitely should go back as soon as I post this call. It'll post in our Facebook group and in
Mhm.
the role play archive. Go back and listen to the role play from a half an hour ago. I
All
covered
right.
everything that you need to know. I covered right there. So I stayed away. Remember, I stayed away from the real estate in the conversation until he brought it to me. I focused on helping him understand how I got his information, why I'm calling, what I could do to help. So, yes, you have a team and you're doing really good. And you have a good brand. I think that's powerful. So this is Arizona Probate Specialist. We built a team here locally. The hell with buying houses. You built a team here locally to focus on helping families who are going through the probate process, and that means a lot of different things. It's ranging anywhere from selling a house tomorrow to getting absolute top dollar to helping the family reinvest funds and even move family members into more suitable housing. We have senior moving companies. We have estate sale companies. It really starts with us understanding the family's challenges and goals, and then we can sit down and kind of show you what your options are. If I could take one thing off your plate right now, what would you hand over? So write that question down. Instead of talking about real estate, instead of saying, do you have real estate? Would you like to sell? Blah, blah, blah. If you could hand me one problem that's stressing you out right now, what would you give me? What would you take off your plate if you could that's associated with the estate? It's a really emotional question. It's really hard not to answer. And it's going to take their mind. Even though you don't know what it is, their mind is immediately going to go to the most painful part of this. They're going to say, whether they admit it to you on the phone or not, you will psychologically, you're going to take them into the most uncomfortable part of this situation, and they're going to think about it. And usually they'll spill the story on you shortly after. If they don't, there might be some awkward silence in the air. I usually leave that there. I don't try to talk to fill space. If I've asked a really emotional question, I'm willing to wait for my answer because it's usually the answer is really telling. They're going to tell you what pain they're feeling. They're going to tell you what solutions they need. So be patient. Even if you have awkward silence, let them feel that.
Mhm.
But try to ask questions like that instead of going to real estate. Go to think about a wider solution, and you can easily bring this conversation to the real estate at any point, but you've got to get them to trust you first, and they're not going to trust you if they think you're just like the other 50 investors in Phoenix or whatever part of Arizona you're in. They're never going to trust you because someone has bought a course or watched a video on the internet or been on Bigger Pockets. They've called them up and they've made a telephone offer that pissed them off. I guarantee you. They probably will never do a deal. They couldn't wholesale a house if you held a gun to their head, but they have already talked to this seller. So you're just as big of an idiot as they are if you go in as quick as they did. That to the seller, they're going to you're going to earn the reputation of that last guy that screwed up, unless you do something that vastly differentiates you from that person. So that's the idea of starting really broad with the conversation and then narrow it down into the specific offer. The other thing that this will help you do is if they aren't in a situation where they need to sell quickly, then it will help you before you identify yourself as an investor. You'll feel that. Like, you know what I'm talking about. You know exactly when you're going to buy a house. I can tell in the first 5 minutes of any conversation whether I'm buying the house or not. And just the same, I can tell if I'm going to list it. Now, I might be on the phone for 20 minutes, but I usually know in the first 5 minutes whether it's a listing or a wholesale. So by not identifying yourself, labeling yourself, it gives you an opportunity to kind of feel out the conversation and know, okay, we're never going to buy this house. This needs to be a referral. So you can, rather than breaking a rapport by identifying as an investor or making a low offer, you can just simply say, well, listen, I think the best thing for you is to meet with Polly. She's our star real estate agent. That's one of the branches of our service our company. I'm gonna have Paulie give you a call tomorrow. Would 2:00 be okay? Okay, perfect. I'll make sure you're on her calendar. Save my number in case you have any other questions. And I'd like to know how the conversation goes with you and Paulie, if that's okay. So they don't know that you're a real estate investor. They don't know that you wanted to make a cash offer. You determined early that it probably wasn't one that you were going to be able to buy, but because of your experience. And Paulie has a fresh qualified appointment that you built rapport with, and all she has to do is reinforce that when she goes on the appointment.
Yeah, I like that. So all of that is definite. And I will go in, you said 30 minutes earlier into the call, and I'll listen to that as well.
Yeah, just start at the beginning of this call. There's a lot of really good content on this call. We've covered a lot of good stuff.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for all that advice, and I'll make sure I'll do that.
Yeah, thanks for stepping up, man. Good luck out there.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys. Well,
Chad?
we're at the top of the end of yes.
No, I was just going to let you know that we're getting close to 1 o'clock.
Yeah, we're at 2:59. Anybody in the queue? I don't want to leave anyone hanging.
Nobody's in the queue right now.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to call it a wrap for today. That's an hour of really good role play. I'll get this posted on Facebook here in a bit, and it will be in the subscriber portal later today. I'll use Jim's closing. Take one thing you heard here today, one thing that inspired you or an aha that you had, go put it into action immediately, and come to our call tomorrow and tell us how well it worked on the mastermind call every Thursday at 1 o'clock. But thanks so much for everybody who stepped up and contributed today. And if there's anything else, anything that if you didn't raise your hand and you need help, you can always email support@alltheleads.com, and one of us will reach out to help you one-on-one. Thanks so much, guys.